Kalamazoo Public Safety officers had responded to the Bridge Street and Amnesty Street area after numerous houseless citizens had moved from the encampment on the other side of Bridge Street that had been vacated previously. The property that they moved to was also a brownfield site and owned by the city of Kalamazoo, as the other encampment was. KDPS contacted those present that had moved to this location on 10/6/2021 at 8 p.m. and advised them that they could no longer be on the property. Officers also posted numerous no trespassing signs on utility poles around the property and remained at that property the rest of the night, conducting foot patrols around this site. Several of the no trespassing signs that were posted on the poles still remain today. No trespass warnings were issued that day, along with signage placed around the property advising those present that they needed to vacate the property by October 8, 2021 at noon. The allegations made by Ms. Padula are as follows. Officers used excessive force when arresting her. Officers forcibly removed her property and damaged it. And officers did not provide Ms. Padula with appropriate medical care. Kalamazoo Public Safety officers responded back to the encampment to enforce the no trespass ordinance on 10/8/2021 at approximately 12:30 p.m. Officers contacted those present and advised them that they needed to gather their property and vacate the area. The houseless citizens present were complying and gathering their items so that they could leave as asked by officers. During this time, there was a small group of demonstrators that had linked arms and were refusing to comply with officers' lawful commands to vacate the area. This is when first contact is made between Sergeant Hoffer and Ms. Padula. The sign that you see on the screen today is the actual sign that were posted around the property, with, again, several of those still remaining to today. I will now address each allegation made by Ms. Padula and the officer that was involved with each allegation. The first allegation made was that officers assaulted her and or used excessive force when effecting the arrest. The first contact that I will discuss is with Sergeant Hoffer and Ms. Padula. Sergeant Hoffer is first seen contacting the group of approximately 10 demonstrators who have linked arms together. Sergeant Hoffer is telling the demonstrators that they are trespassing and they need to vacate the area. Other officers had already made an arrest on a male subject who began to have a medical issue and was now lying on the ground. Ms. Padula eventually comes up to Sergeant Hoffer and inquires as to the male that is being arrested and is on the ground if he is okay and breathing. Sergeant Hoffer advises Ms. Padula that officers are currently tending to him and that she is not sure what his status of his condition is. Ms. Padula tells Sergeant Hoffer that she's going to stay near the male to make sure that he is okay. Sergeant Hoffer advises Ms. Padula that she has to stay back and puts her arms out to demonstrate that she cannot come any further past Sergeant Hoffer. Ms. Padula does not comply with this lawful order, but continues to try and walk past Sergeant Hoffer to get closer to the male and the officers trying to tend to him. Sergeant Hoffer is by herself at this time, and her concern is keeping the two officers and the male that they are attending to safe, as the demonstrators are becoming more vocal and eventually move closer to Sergeant Hoffer. Ms. Padula continues to try and go around Sergeant Hoffer, who has already established a line by putting her arms out to signify the area that Ms. Padula cannot go past. Ms. Padula again tries to go around Sergeant Hoffer, who puts her hand out to keep Ms. Padula back, as she is still not complying with Sergeant Hoffer's lawful commands. Ms. Padula responds by swatting Sergeant Hoffer's hand away. Ms. Padula then reaches behind her and pulls out her pepper spray. Sergeant Hoffer asks Ms. Padula if she's going to hit her, as Sergeant Hoffer did not see that Ms. Padula had pulled out pepper spray at that time. Ms. Padula responds that she's not going to hit Sergeant Hoffer, but she's going to defend herself. At this time, Ms. Padula could have been arrested for resisting a police officer. No arrest is made at this time, as Sergeant Hoffer is still by herself while the other officers are tending to the male on the ground. Attempting an arrest at this time would not have been safe to do. Ms. Padula then yells to the group of demonstrators, quote, "Do your job," end quote, and, quote, "Where are you at," end quote. The group of demonstrators that have linked arms then moves closer to Sergeant Hoffer. This group is now within about a foot of Sergeant Hoffer and only a couple feet away from the officers tending to the male on the ground. The subject at the front of the chain of demonstrators tells Sergeant Hoffer, quote, "You can't control this," end quote. Ms. Padula is then seen again trying to go past Sergeant Hoffer. Sergeant Hoffer continues to tell those present that they need to stay back, but they do not comply. Sergeant Hoffer is now facing approximately 10 demonstrators by herself. This again poses an extreme safety concern to Sergeant Hoffer and the officers attempting to tend to the male that is on the ground. Sergeant Hoffer again tells Ms. Padula to get back, but she does not comply. Sergeant Hoffer attempts to move the flag that Ms. Padula is carrying away from her face, as it is now obstructing her view. Sergeant Hoffer again puts her hands up to keep space between her and Ms. Padula, as she has done previously. Ms. Padula reacts by flailing around, swinging her body and flagpole that she's holding, striking Sergeant Hoffer with it. Sergeant Hoffer explained that she could not remember exactly what had happened, but believed she was closing her eyes to prevent her from getting hit with the flag that was flapping into her eyes. She then attempted to deploy her pepper spray. Sergeant Hoffer stated that she felt that at first she could not get her thumb into the pepper spray container, but eventually did and deployed a couple short bursts of pepper spray at the group of demonstrators in order to disperse the crowd that had converged upon her. Sergeant Hoffer stated that she was trying to arrest Ms. Padula but could not get to her as the demonstrators had now surrounded Ms. Padula, preventing Sergeant Hoffer from making an arrest. Sergeant Hoffer sustained an injury to her head on scene, which she thought was originally caused by the flagpole that hit her. She later stated it was found that while watching her video in a slow motion, that she was struck by the flagpole, but the injury was caused by another demonstrator who had moved in closer and elbowed her in the head. At this time, other officers arrived and then began to assist Sergeant Hoffer. Sergeant Hoffer's response was solely in response to Ms. Padula's actions. This now is going to be the body cam footage from Sergeant Hoffer. This is not her entire video, but a video clip of the contact between Ms. Padula and Sergeant Hoffer. In this video, I would like you to watch for Ms. Padula refusing to comply with Sergeant Hoffer's lawful commands. Ms. Padula swats Sergeant Hoffer's hand and pull out her pepper spray, and Ms. Padula continually trying to go past Sergeant Hoffer to get closer to the officers tending to the male on the ground. Also, please note that the videos that I have today, there have been some portions of audio and video redacted in order to comply with the public disclosure law.
Stay back, stay back.
I pointed to you to go around to her.
Stay back.
Can
he breathe? I'm not over there.
Can he breathe?
He's just fine.
I will watch.
Okay, you can watch.
Are you okay,
You can watch from right there.
Are you okay? Speak to us. I got you. Speak to us. What you need right now?
You guys have to go. We're not going to obey you guys. Swear to God, what? I said stay back.
Excuse me. This is not your name.
Okay.
This is not your
You're going to
name.
be arrested.
I'm prepared. This is not your name.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my eye on him. Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Ma'am.
Are you going to hit me?
Oh, I'm not going to hit you. But
If you step forward,
citizens have the right to defend themselves.
not while we're doing.
We have the right to defend ourselves. I'm saying.
We're going to be on the southwest
You want to be
corner
there?
near Amberson.
De-escalation! Where you at? Let's go!
Southwest corner, up to the NLCC, Rock.
De-escalation right here! You see a black man?
You guys hear that?
You see a black woman over here getting harassed by this husband? Get your ass over here, do your job!
Is there an ambulance coming?
I can't hear anything. You guys won't stop yelling.
Breathe in, breathe out.
Let him go!
Breathe out. I'm watching you, brother. I'm not moving. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here.
Let him go! Nope, tighten it
I'm
up.
right here. I'm right here. What's your name, sir?
T1 to command, field command.
You guys do not come any closer than right here.
There's
I said don't come any closer.
Wearing navy blue, yellow shirt with tan pants that's headed your way.
You guys,
She has
do not
long hair.
closer or you're
Let him go!
If you step any closer, I Stay back, stay back.
The second contact that occurs is with PSO Dillenbeck. PSO Dillenbeck, who is attempting to provide medical aid to the male on the ground, sees the altercation take place and immediately goes to assist. PSO Dillenbeck sees Sergeant Hoffer get hit with a flagpole and moves in to arrest Ms. Padula for resisting and obstructing. PSO Dillenbeck approaches Ms. Padula and wraps his arms around her from behind in order to pull her away from the crowd that were trying to surround her. As he is doing so, Ms. Padula takes her pepper spray and sprays PSO Dillenbeck in the face. PSO Dillenbeck is not able to see due to the assault that Ms. Padula has committed on him. When following the use of force continuum, Ms. Padula has now committed active aggression on PSO Dillenbeck. PSO Dillenbeck responds by taking Ms. Padula to the ground so that he can detain her. This is to prevent Ms. Padula from assaulting PSO Dillenbeck any further and to control her on the ground in case any other people try to assault him, as the officers are again outnumbered by demonstrators at this time. PSO Dillenbeck straddles Ms. Padula, holding her to the ground, waiting for other officers to arrive to assist him, as he is unable to secure Ms. Padula in handcuffs due to the pepper spray that he was sprayed in his eyes with. PSO Dillenbeck's actions were solely in response to those presented to him by Ms. Padula. I will now play a video clip of PSO Dillenbeck's contact with Ms. Padula. When the video starts, you will see PSO Dillenbeck and PSO Salmon, who is on the ground right there, tending to the male that was under arrest and was suffering from a medical condition. Again, as a reminder, portions of the video have been redacted in compliance with the public release law.
Here. I'm right here. What's your name, sir? What's your name? What's it? Mental. Is your family live here?
Can you stand up and we can walk?
Will you please let us walk you to an ambulance, sir?
We can get you help. Get you to the ambulance.
Take a deep breath.
Stop. Get your hands behind your back. Stop fighting. Someone get me out of here.
The third contact was with PSO Grenade. PSO Grenade sees the altercation between officers and the demonstrators and approaches to assist. PSO Grenade sees that PSO Dillenbeck is trying to detain Ms. Padula on the ground. PSO Dillenbeck yells to PSO Grenade that he cannot see and requests assistance handcuffing Ms. Padula. PSO Grenade kneels down onto Ms. Padula's right side as Lieutenant Reiber kneels down on Ms. Padula's left side. Both officers detain Ms. Padula on the ground, giving her loud verbal commands. Ms. Padula is then secured into handcuffs. As soon as Ms. Padula is secured in handcuffs, both officers disengage. PSO Grenade then assists Ms. Padula with getting off the ground and gathering her property. There is no mention of Ms. Padula missing her glasses at this time. PSO Grenade then escorts Ms. Padula to the staging area for processing. Again, this is going to be a small video clip from PSO Grenade's contact with Ms. Padula. In this video, you will see PSO Grenade pulling Ms. Padula's right hand, which she is clutching her keys. She drops the keys and then moves her hand towards them again. These keys contain the pepper spray used to spray PSO Dillenbeck with.
You're under arrest. Get your hands behind your back. Stop fighting. All right. You have.
Thank you.
Right here. Is this your stuff?
This is mine.
Okay.
I'm rolling over, but
Okay.
I'm telling you what I need. I need you to
will in
comply.
just a second.
Sir?
Go ahead and sit up.
Thank you.
Stand right there.
I'm okay. Sis, don't stop. I'm okay. I'm
Go ahead
okay.
and stand up.
Okay,
Stand up.
I will meet.
All right. Walk this way. Walk this way.
Hey, thank you. I feel better. Okay, y'all don't gotta make it like this.
Let's go this way.
I will now go over the summary and findings for allegation number 1. For the first portion of this allegation, Ms. Padula alleged that Sergeant Hoffer assaulted her. As seen on the body cam footage, Sergeant Hoffer was keeping those demonstrators back from officers who were attempting to make an arrest and provide medical aid. Ms. Padula was instructed numerous times to stay back so officers could tend to that male. Sergeant Hoffer advised Ms. Padula that she could check on the male, but she needed to stay back. Ms. Padula did not comply with these lawful commands and at one point swats Sergeant Hoffer's hand away from her and then pulls out her pepper spray. At this point, Ms. Padula could have been arrested, but due to officer safety concerns, no arrest was made. Ms. Padula continued to try to go around Sergeant Hoffer. Sergeant Hoffer again puts her hand out to prevent Ms. Padula from moving any closer. Ms. Padula then swung her body in flagpole, striking Sergeant Hoffer with that flagpole. Sergeant Hoffer then attempted to deploy her pepper spray in response. Sergeant Hoffer's actions were only in response to Ms. Padula's actions and were lawful. Next, Ms. Padula alleged that PSO Dilbeck used excessive force. After altercation begins with the demonstrators and Sergeant Hoffer, PSO Dilbeck comes to assist Sergeant Hoffer with the arrest of Ms. Padula. PSO Dilbeck wraps his arms around Ms. Padula to detain her and effect the arrest. As PSO Dilbeck was doing so, Ms. Padula pepper sprayed PSO Dilbeck in the face. PSO Dilbeck then took Ms. Padula to the ground in order to detain her, as she'd already assaulted him and he could no longer see. PSO Dilbeck held Ms. Padula to the ground until other officers could come and assist him with the arrest. PSO Dilbeck's actions were lawful and only in response to Ms. Padula's actions. Lieutenant Reiber and PSO Grenade, who assisted with the arrest, places a knee down on Ms. Padula to assist in detaining her and handcuffing her. As soon as Ms. Padula was secured in handcuffs, both officers disengaged. Lieutenant Reiber and PSO Grenade's actions were lawful and within policy. The Office of Professional Standards gave a recommendation of exonerated for all officers involved with this allegation. The second allegation that Ms. Padula made was that officers forcibly removed her property and damaged it in doing so. Once in the staging area, Ms. Padula is searched incident to arrest. All persons arrested are searched incident to their arrest. Law allows officers to complete a thorough search of those arrested in order to make sure they do not possess any items that are illegal or harmful, such as drugs or weapons. During this search incident to arrest, PSO Grenade does cut Ms. Padula's backpack straps. Ms. Padula is in custody at this time for resisting and obstructing a police officer. For the safety of the officer and Ms. Padula, handcuffs typically will not be removed once placed on a citizen on at an incident location. Ms. Padula had already shown active aggression towards officers, and removing the handcuffs in order to remove the backpack could lead to further force used. Due to this, the safest way to remove the backpack is to cut the straps on it. Ms. Padula is also possessing an item that she described as a medicine bag. This item is also removed from Ms. Padula. The Kalamazoo County Jail does not allow any items to be in the physical possession of those arrested inside their facility, and this is why Ms. Padula's items were removed. All property collected from an individual being taken to the Kalamazoo County Jail is placed into a clear plastic bag and turned over to the jail staff. Larger items, such as Ms. Padula's backpack, are also not allowed inside the county jail and must be taken to KDPS's headquarters and held in our evidence room as safekeeping until the person can retrieve them. I'll now cover the summary of findings for allegation number 2. The second allegation that Ms. Padula made was that her property was forcefully removed and damaged. While in the staging area preparing for transport to the jail, Ms. Padula is searched incident to his arrest, as stated before. All those lodged at the county jail are not allowed to have any personal property in their physical possession inside the county jail. Due to this, the Office of Professional Standards gave the recommendation of exonerated for this allegation. The third allegation that Ms. Padula submitted was that officers did not provide her appropriate medical care upon request. The first contact Ms. Padula has in the staging area is with Sergeant Workema. Sergeant Workema is the command officer in charge of the staging area. His responsibilities were to obtain information on all arrests made that day. Sergeant Workema speaks with Ms. Padula at the staging area, obtains her information, and arrests charges. Ms. Padula says that she needs medical care. Ms. Padula is then placed in the transport vehicle, and Sergeant Workema brings Life EMS over to the transport van. Life EMS, who is present this day, is responsible for all emergency medical concerns. Life EMS is at the transfer van on 2 separate occasions due to various medical requests. Life EMS speaks with Ms. Padula after she says that her face is burning from the pepper spray. The second time Life EMS is at the transport vehicle, Ms. Padula does not tell the paramedic that she has anything wrong and does not request any care or treatment from them. PSO Slank, who is also in the staging area, is assisting with arrest. PSO Slank has a brief contact at the transport vehicle with Ms. Padula. Ms. Padula tells PSO Slank that that her face is burning and that she needs treatment for it. PSO Slank tells Ms. Padula that he has a towel and that he will blot her face with it in order to get the oils off. Ms. Padula refuses. PSO Slank does not have any fluid with him at that time to provide to flush her face with. PSO Slank also offers a towel to another citizen in the transport vehicle who also refuses. Life EMS had already spoken with Ms. Padula regarding her concern over the effects of pepper spray. Ms. Padula was also advised that she would be able to flush her eyes out once she arrived at the Kalamazoo County Jail and to speak with their medical staff. This first still photo I have for you is a picture of the life paramedic in the white shirt speaking with Ms. Padula in the van. The second photo is again of Ms. Padula speaking with the life EMS paramedic at the van. He's the gentleman in the white shirt who was responsible for all the medical care.
No, we're talking to Workwoman. Please look at Workwoman's body cam video. You will see all of them. The silver.
I will now go over the summary and findings for allegation 3.
Excuse me, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Was there comments being made by members of the public?
There was, sir.
That is disruptive. And if that continues, I will ask officers to remove you personally. Is that understood? We will be respectful for each other. Is that understood? Thank you so much. Continue, officer.
Thank you, sir. I will now go over the summary and findings for allegation 3. For this allegation, Ms. Padula alleges she was not offered sufficient medical care. During this incident, Ms. Padula asked for medical care several times. Life EMS is in the staging area and is responsible for all emergency medical related concerns. Life EMS speaks with Ms. Padula and is present in front of her several times in the staging area. Life EMS determined that Ms. Padula did not need medical treatment. Ms. Padula is offered a towel to blot her face with by PSO Slank, as that's the only thing that he had available to help her with the pepper spray at that time. Ms. Padula also was advised that she would be able to speak with the jail medical staff about any further concerns. Upon arrival at the Kalamazoo County Jail, there is medical staff present to speak with and evaluate those brought into their facility. If the jail medical staff determines that somebody being brought into the Kalamazoo County Jail needs further medical treatment, they will either contact EMS or they will contact the police agency that brought that person to the jail to have them transported to the hospital for further care. The Office of Professional Standards gave the recommendation of exonerated for this allegation. The Office of Professional Standards conducted a fair and impartial investigation in this complaint. The complaint was investigated by gleaning information from written reports, camera footage, interviewing officers, and speaking with Ms. Padula. As you know, the Office of Professional Standards is bound by 5 disposition codes. First one is unfounded, when the investigation discloses that the alleged acts did not occur or did not involve department members. Complaints that are determined to be frivolous will fall within the classification of unfounded. Exonerated, when the investigation discloses that the alleged act occurred, but the act was justified, lawful, or proper. Next is not sustained, when the investigation discloses that there was insufficient evidence to sustain the complaint or fully exonerate the member. Next is sustained, when the investigation discloses sufficient evidence to establish that the act occurred and that it constituted misconduct. Misconduct not based on the complaint, if the investigation discloses misconduct or improper job performance that was not alleged in the original complaint, the investigator shall take appropriate action with regard to any additional allegations. After a complete investigation, the Office of Professional Standards gave a recommendation of exonerated for all the allegations against the officers involved as noted above. The recommendation was supported by the Chief of Public Safety, and the complaint closed on February 24th of 2022. The Chief did add an action note with a disposition that stated, quote, Chief's office will recommend having water for the purpose of aiding the cool down period for those affected by the use of mace from their behavior, end quote. That concludes my presentation for this investigation. Thank you.
Sergeant,
Yes, sir.
I want to be sure to thank you. Thank you for the comprehensive investigative report, and thank you for the clarifying supplemental information and for staying focused on what this hearing is all about. It is much appreciated.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Board.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to declare that the hearing is adjourned, and the board will retire to a private room for deliberation. And I would ask that the public remain seated while the board retires to deliberate. Thank you so much for attending.